My name is Lily. On one of those quiet autumn evenings, I experienced the most terrifying event of my life. I was all alone, at an abandoned campsite. I had just wanted to spend a peaceful night there, but I quickly realized that it would be a night I would never forget, a night where I fought just to survive. And if you've ever found yourself alone in the woods, truly believing you're by yourself, you might want to think again. My channel is so close to reaching 100 subscribers. If you haven't subscribed yet, it's completely free and would mean a lot if you supported me. Let me know in the comments if you subscribed. I'll be dropping a heart on those comments. And don't forget to share this video. Last summer, I wanted to escape the city and feel the peace that nature offers, even if just for a while. I had been thinking about planning a getaway for days, and eventually, my friends encouraged me to try solo camping. I was looking for a real adventure, and the place I chose was the Lost Forest. There was very little information about this campsite. It was so hard to find, even on a map. But I couldn't resist my curiosity. And one weekend, since I couldn't convince any of my friends to come along, I decided to go on my own. I took my car and drove for several hours on a difficult, winding road, heading deep into a dark forest. Along the way, I saw many abandoned houses, and the roads became increasingly rough. But that only excited me more. This was exactly what I had been looking for. Remote, quiet, deserted. By the time I arrived at the campsite, it was almost completely dark. Fog slowly rolled over the forest. I started setting up my tent and tried to take in my surroundings, but something felt off. The air was warm, yet I felt a cold chill deep inside me. The trees were so thick, it was like they were clinging tightly to one another, like they had formed a natural wall. And the silence. Yes, it was the silence of nature, but there was something about it, something heavy. I lit a fire to get through the night, read a bit, and then laid back to watch the sky. That's when it happened. The wind suddenly stopped. The temperature shifted instantly. The darkness grew deeper. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't see the stars. It was as if the sky had been covered by a thick blanket. I decided to get some rest. I lay silently in my tent and closed my eyes. But then I noticed something. The silence had changed. No birds, no rustling of animals. Only that heavy, unbearable silence. A deep unease set in, but I still tried to sleep. After a while, I became so drowsy that I was nearly asleep, until I heard a strange sound outside. Footsteps. Very close. Like someone was walking around my tent. I shot up quickly, every little sound echoing in my ears. Someone was out there, watching me. I had no idea what to do. I grabbed my flashlight and stepped outside. The footsteps stopped instantly. A figure, just a few steps away, stood still. It wasn't moving, just frozen in place, swallowed by the darkness. I tried to scan it with my eyes, but I couldn't make out any details. It was just a shadow, an empty void staring at me. I was sure it knew I was aware of its presence. But what was it? What should I do? Suddenly, a voice inside me screamed, "Leave. Now." I knew whatever it was, it meant harm. I turned to get back to my tent, but realized I had become disoriented. No matter where I walked, I couldn't find my way. I wandered in circles and somehow ended up near my tent again. Then I heard the footsteps once more. But this time, they weren't around the tent. They were right beside me. I closed my eyes, held my breath, and listened. All I could hear was the sound of my own breathing. I opened my eyes again. Nothing. But I swear the figure had stepped back, like a shadow slipping away, leaving behind only silence. The next morning, everything seemed normal. But something was wrong. Right beside my tent, a note had been left. A small, old piece of paper. On it, just one sentence. "We are watching you before you leave." I packed up slowly and decided to leave the camp. With every step, I felt like something was following me. My heart pounded in fear. Eventually, I reached my car, threw the door open, and drove away as fast as I could. Whenever I think about that night, I feel a strange emptiness, a coldness inside. And even now, I still feel like something that was once lost in that forest is watching me. If this story got under your skin, don't forget to subscribe for more. And remember, sometimes getting lost in the woods is only the beginning. My name is Alan, and I have to tell this story because I still hear it. That sound, recorded in an empty campsite. Last year, I joined a small group of independent documentarians who filmed video journals of abandoned, forgotten places deep in the wild. The episode we were working on focused on a closed-down scout camp hidden in the Montana mountains. Camp Greystone. There wasn't much about it online. Just an old group photo of some scouts, a blurry map, and a date. 1984. The year it was shut down. But what struck us most was the absence of reason. No official cause. No articles. No history. As if someone had erased it. Day 1. We reached the camp by foot. Old wooden buildings, a rotting tower, collapsed scout barracks, and a dining hall that overlooked a silent lake. It was deserted, but strangely preserved. Inside the cabins, we found scout uniforms, bunk beds, even a wall calendar from 1984, still hanging. But the strangest thing was the camp logbook we found. It looked freshly written, like it hadn't aged a day. The last date, August 15th, 1984. The final note read, "He didn't speak again. The boy's a danger now. He needs to be sent into the woods." Who was this boy? No name. No explanation. But the entries became more obsessed with him. I followed him. He talks to shadows. He mimics voices. Last night he was in the dining hall. I only saw his eyes in the dark. It felt like a campfire legend. Creepy, but scripted. We brushed it off and continued filming. We set up night vision cameras across the camp. But on the second night, at exactly 3:12 a.m., something happened. Footage shows a figure approaching the dining hall. Face obscured, not moving. But we heard something on the recording. A distorted child's voice whispering. I found them. I brought them back. Then the footage cuts. Static. When we checked the area in the morning, the camera was still there. But it had been turned slightly, and the lens was scratched. That's when we realized one of us was missing. Eric. We searched every cabin, every path, every shadow of the forest. Nothing. Our radios gave static. Phones had no service. When we reviewed the footage again, we saw Eric walking into the dining hall. At 2:51 a.m. He never came out. We went back to that building. There were no signs of struggle. But above us, an old rusted chain hung from a ceiling beam, and scratched into the floor below it. Only the silent remain. We decided to leave. But the forest wouldn't let us. Every trail led back to the entrance sign. We were looping, and in the trees, someone or something was watching. Night 3. We stayed in one of the barracks. But we didn't sleep. Footsteps circled us all night. Pacing. Waiting. We left a camera running just outside. The next morning, we watched the footage. A voice again. That same childlike whisper. If you don't speak, you stay. If you tell, they remember you. Then the shot pans, and we see something hanging on the tree outside. Eric's jacket, folded, freshly washed. It was clear. Something in that camp repeats. And we'd stumbled into the cycle. Final day. We dropped the cameras, left the equipment, only took our backpacks. We pushed through the forest. No GPS, no trails, but somehow we made it out. Only 3 of us. But after that night, every morning at 3:12 a.m., my phone lights up. It plays a video. In the footage, it's me, standing in the middle of the forest, whispering. I brought them back, but the voice, it's not mine, yet the face is me. If this story got under your skin, don't forget to subscribe for more. And remember, some camps don't close. They just wait for new recordings. My name is Noah. The only reason I'm telling you this story is to warn anyone who might one day find themselves in that place, because their time itself had stopped. Last summer, I was looking for a new camping site when I stumbled upon a strange mark on an old map. A place called Clock Hollow, a nature camp established decades ago, shut down sometime in the late 90s. But the reason for its closure? Completely unknown. No fire, no financial issues. Just one day it was gone. Forgotten. That unshakable curiosity inside me, it pulled me into yet another solo journey. I got my gear ready and hit the road early in the morning. The last hour of the route was a dirt path winding deep into the forest. Trees blocked out the sunlight, and the silence felt unnatural. At one point, my GPS lost signal. But then I saw it, Clock Hollow, still standing with its old sign. Rusted, covered in moss, half swallowed by the woods. It read, Clock Camp, time stands still here. The moment I stepped inside, I noticed something off. Everything in the camp was clock-themed. Old wall clocks hung on the cabin doors. A decaying sundial sat at the center, and further in stood a towering metal clock tower. But none of them told the right time. Every clock was frozen at a different hour. And the strangest part? Even though they were all broken, I could still hear ticking. I pitched my tent for the night and jotted down notes. As darkness fell, the silence was broken. Ticking sounds echoed through the woods. There was no wind, yet the leaves rustled. I grabbed my flashlight and looked around. The sky was starless. Time felt stuck. That's when I saw it. One of the old cabins near the center had its door slowly creaking open. No one else was supposed to be here. I approached cautiously. Inside, the walls were completely covered in clocks. All stopped, except one. A small table clock sat in the middle of the room, ticking. It showed 2:47 a.m. Then, I noticed something written in the dust on the floor, traced with a finger. Don't be outside at 2:47. Chills ran down my spine. I still had time before then. I rushed outside, trying to return to my tent. But no matter how far I walked, I couldn't find it. It was as if the camp kept shifting around me. The ticking grew louder again, but now different. The clock sounds weren't random. They were calling me. I ran. Each step brought a new ticking, some fast, some slow. Time itself was broken. Then suddenly, everything stopped. No sounds, no wind, nothing. And then I saw him. A child, standing with his back to me. His clothes, old-fashioned. He stood silently, then whispered, "I'm lost." When he turned around, he had no face. Just smooth, blank skin. I screamed, stumbled backward, but the boy vanished. And that's when the ticking returned. One sound. One time. 2:47 a.m. Time had stopped. But something was moving toward me. I couldn't see it, but I felt it. And believe me, knowing something is coming without seeing it is worse than anything you could imagine. I dropped to the ground, shut my eyes. My heart felt like it was going to explode. Then, silence. I woke up to daylight, or what seemed like it. I checked my watch. Nothing. Dead screen. My phone. Same thing. No time. No signal. I rushed back to grab my backpack. But there was no tent. No camp. Nothing. It was like I had never been there at all. Only one thing remained, etched into the back of the old sign at the entrance. Those with time may flee. Those without remain forever. If this story chilled you, don't forget to subscribe for more. And remember, in some places, time does not move forward, but it never stops waiting for you. Echo Valley. My name is Claire. What I'm about to tell you shows where a simple wrong turn on a map can lead. But the truly terrifying part isn't getting lost. It's when your voice is no longer your own. Last summer, 3 of my friends and I decided to escape city life and went on a camping trip near the Montana border. We were recommended a hidden campsite called Echo Valley Trail. The interesting part was that no one knew the exact location of the campsite. But most people wrote the same thing. Don't speak there at night. The echo doesn't just repeat your voice. Day 1. When we reached the entrance of the valley, the GPS lost signal. But the path was clear. A narrow trail winding between 2 mountain slopes. As we ventured deeper, we noticed a strange silence. There were no bird calls, no insect sounds, just echoes. But the strange part was, we hadn't spoken yet. Still, there were whispers echoing around us. Not words, but imitated breaths. We set up camp, lit our fire in the cool air, laughed, and talked. But everything changed when night fell. Around 11 p.m., we started hearing sentences from the forest in the same tone as our own voices. Not a pure echo, but a distorted imitation. For example, I said, "I set the lantern in the field." Minutes later, a voice from the forest echoed the same sentence. But the ending was different. "I set the lantern in the field. I'll come to see." We froze. We thought it was a joke, but no one laughed. Then, the same voice repeated, this time a little closer. But instead of Claire's voice, it was my friend Max's voice. We didn't leave the tent that night. But the echoes didn't stop. Day 2. The next morning, Max was gone. His tent was open. Footprints led deeper into the forest. We followed them. Then we found him. But something was wrong. Max wasn't speaking. He looked at us, but with no expression. He only whispered one sentence. "I heard my echo. Now it's your turn." When I turned around, Max was behind me. The real Max. We locked eyes, and the Max in front of us ran into the forest. That day, we tried to leave the forest. But every path we took, our own voices called us back. Sometimes we heard cries, sometimes our screams. But the worst part was the distorted laughter that came with our own voices. The final night, we didn't light a campfire. No one spoke. Because whenever someone did, their echo would return, changing shape. The sentences stretched on. Sometimes threats, sometimes pleas. Don't leave. Don't forget me. Now you're one of us. At one point, Max whispered, "They're not our echoes. We're their echoes now." That night, we tried to sleep, all four of us. In the morning, only I woke up. But all three tents were still there. There was no one inside, and they hadn't been opened. It was like they had never been set up. Exit. As I tried to leave the valley, someone called my name from behind, in my own voice. I didn't look back, because every time I heard my voice, the echo that followed it was still in my ears. If you turn back, you'll stay here forever. If this story has affected you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more. And remember, some places don't just repeat what you say, they repeat you.